Hi, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome to our coffee chat. I'm going to grab a drink of water while I'm waiting for you guys to hop on. And when you hop on, definitely tell me where you're tuning in from, and definitely comment if you have any questions. If you're watching the replay, remember to hashtag replay so I can come back and see that you watched it. So today, we're going to be chatting about the number one feeling and emotion that comes up for women when I work with them in terms of food and their body. And I think it's really, really, really important one to talk about today. It's shame. Okay, so many of you guys tell me that you felt shame in some sort of way. And there are so many feelings that we feel in this group together. So there are a lot of high vibe feelings. I try to keep it high vibe. So we try to keep it joyful. We try to keep it positive and happy. We talk about satisfaction. We did a coffee chat about that recently. But today, not to be a total Debbie Downer, I want to recognize probably the lowest vibration feeling that we have, that I hear women tell me that they struggle with, and that's shame. So, because so many of you have told me that you felt shame at one point in time, whether that was about food or your body, what it usually turns to is secrecy and hiding. When we feel shame, we usually don't want to talk about it. If you guys, hey Tracy, hi Tracy from Greenville. Glad you're on today. So I was just saying, and definitely chime in with any questions that you have. We're talking about shame, and my favorite is Brene Brown. She's a shame researcher. I read a lot of her books, but shame oftentimes turns to secrecy, turns to hiding. We feel shame. We don't want to talk about it. So I'm bringing up the stuff that we don't want to talk about today in this coffee chat. So thank you for joining me, Tracy. I'm glad you're here and you're on. Definitely let me know if you have any questions along the way. So back to these thoughts on shame. When it starts happening, it's usually in secret and it's usually in hiding. It starts to destroy our relationship with ourselves, and then it starts to affect our relationship with others. And I see this so often with so many women that I work with. They start, hiding, and then eventually they just start hiding from themselves. They start to detach and just numb. So there are several feelings when we talk about emotionally eating, when we talk about binging, we talk about a scale. And when it comes to eating, let's talk about food. Same thing goes for your body. I see a lot of women that struggle with eating at night. If you're one of these people, definitely hit me or give me an emoji in the comments. But I hear this a lot. Is it I struggle with eating at night, maybe when everyone goes to bed, maybe after the kids are asleep, and I've been good all day. That's something that I hear a lot from you guys. Maybe your family's out of town, so you're alone. Maybe you're out of town, so you're by yourself. But it's kind of this secret that maybe you keep, and maybe then you feel like you have been restricting for so long, so you eat. You have urges and you try to manage it, and then you have those thoughts and those feelings of shame break your good spell. How many of you guys can resonate with this? If you can, just shoot me emoji in the comments to let me know. Many times these feelings of restricting all day, being good all day, turns to eating at night, and or secret eating, or hiding in the pantry, hiding in the closet, all of those things. So it starts alone, and then it starts to affect other relationships. It turns into like, okay, here's a good example. Here's one that I see a lot. So you're going out with your friends, and you order a salad. Definitely, I will chat with you about this. Ask me any questions along the way. I'm going to give you an example because this is something that I know I have done in the past. This is something that I know other people tell me that they'll do. And so this is imagine you're going out to eat. You're going out to eat with friends. You order a salad. And so, in ordering a salad, you order dressing on the side, no croutons, no carrots because those have too much sugar, no vegetables because those have too much oil. So you're sitting there with just a dry salad, some grilled chicken, and everyone else is eating whatever the restaurant is famous for. Maybe they're eating their shrimp and grits or their ribs or whatever it is. Just picture this, and you're there with your salad. So you're trying to eat this dry salad with this plain grilled chicken, and all your friends are having the food, and you're out in front of people, and so you're watching them eat, and you're watching them interact, and you're like, wow, okay. Someone takes a bite of their dessert, and they're like, ooh, this is too sweet. Does anyone want to share this with me? Someone's leaving like half a sandwich on their plate, and they're finished. They're getting their tab, and maybe some people are like, so I guess if you're that person sitting here with a salad and you're going, wait, is no one else obsessing about food? Is no one else trying to clean their plate? Does no one else feel like when the dessert's in front of them, they have to eat it all? Like, what is this? This is what happens when you've been restricting. Something I talk about a lot in this group, and I want you to kind of see it from a different side. If this is you and you're the person that orders the salad when you go out, you're thinking about all this food stuff and you're watching your friends and you're like, how is this possible? Then what happens? You leave the table, you go home, and maybe you feel broken, or maybe the shame starts to hit you. And then thinking about the super dry that you were trying to eat. And maybe people told you when you're at the restaurant, oh my God, you have so much self control. We don't know how you can do this. And so then you go home, you're like, oh, okay, well, I wasn't really satisfied. So you eat a fat free yogurt and you're still hungry. And the next thing you know, you eat all 6 packs of fat free yogurt. And then you start to grab grapes because grapes are something that you freeze in the freezer when you want something sweet. So you're eating frozen grapes. And then you're like, okay, this isn't cutting it. I'm going to get my bag of nuts because nuts will keep me full. So then after 100 almonds, then you go to the cookies. And then you go do the stuff that maybe you wanted. Um, then maybe you're thinking, well, I hear this a lot. It's like, well, screw it. The diet starts. I've eaten all of these things. I'm just going to dive in and I'm going to eat all of whatever it is that you were telling yourself you couldn't have. And then the guilt starts. So you're in secret, you're at home and you're struggling with all this stuff. You're kind of binging on all this food in secret and you feel really shameful about it. If you're watching the replay later, and definitely hashtag replay and hit me with an emoji if this is something that you struggled with. You came home, you binged, and the shame cycle started. So with others, I think we tend to get more isolated, and over time, like I said, because we start to be exposed to people because of these situations. So whereas we might go out with people at first, then we kind of start to isolate ourselves and not be in these situations. So So many of you may or may not have been struggling with this for years, sometimes decades. When I talk to, clients and you open up to me, like sometimes you guys are married and your husbands don't even know that this struggle is going on internally for you. So, this cycle of shame is kind of something that you've held in, that you've dealt with. If you're feeling this, let me know. Just say me. Um, People out there, they're saying, wow, how do you do it? This is another example. And I'm just, I've got so many examples in my head because I talked to so many of you guys over the years, but people might be saying, how do you have so much self control? How do you sit there and eat a salad? But we know that wasn't really the case. That wasn't really the case. So they don't see you. They don't see you going home and what happens afterwards. They just see you eating the salad. So we try to hide it. And then what do we do with ourselves? Um, we're sitting there, we're eating the almonds, we're eating whatever it is, we're trying to hide it. We're eating almonds, we're eating chocolates, we're eating maybe gummy bears, maybe whatever thing it is you say that, I'll just have one more of these. And then it just keeps going. So you start hiding from yourself. That's kind of how the shame cycle begins. It's how it starts. Thank you. Okay, I'm giving these examples to you guys too because I know I have done this in the past. I've been there, and so many women that I've talked to have struggled with these examples. The just one more thing, to try to satisfy you in some way. Um, so I want to just take it a step further and say, like, sometimes when it goes on for years and years and years, it starts to get worse. So we start hiding from ourselves, and we start kind of seeing each other or seeing ourselves only from the neck up. So it's like we're not even acknowledging what's going on in our body. We get kind of like a disconnect. So I talked to you guys in this group about tuning back in to your body and what it's trying to communicate to you. But when we get to this point in the cycle, sometimes we just want to shut it off and not pay attention to our body anymore, because maybe we start to hate the way we feel when we wake up. Maybe we're puffy, and maybe we're bloated, maybe we're kind of nauseous. So those things you might notice at first, but over time, maybe you're starting to develop symptoms like IBS, or there's a diagnosis of an autoimmune disorder, or some mystery disease, and all your friends are like, wow, but you're so healthy. I don't see how this happened. So you're almost living a life where, like, your friends think you're this healthy person, but you have to hide the stuff that you feel ashamed of when you go home, because you can't maintain that healthy persona because you're bad when you go home and you eat the things. So this is what I specialize in. You guys, I see so many clients and the progression that it leads to. After a while, you start living, like I said, from the neck up, you start living in your head. You start to wear lots of flowy, stretchy, black outfits. Um, but I actually comment really fast because there's a good one. Yoga is an amazing, amazing tool to help reconnect back with the body. And I'm glad that I can that so often for people. So I'm glad that you're on here. You'll have to definitely leave a link so that anyone can find you, because I think you're a wonderful resource for helping them connect back into their body. And I always say this too, like, we we need all kinds of tools in our toolbox when we're going through this journey. And this journey isn't easy. It's like a climb up Mount Kilimanjaro. But we learn from our failures. And so I get real excited when somebody comes and they're like, I screwed up or I messed up. No, 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 no. Failures are good because we can learn from them. And so with each opportunity, with each time we feel like we fail, we have an opportunity to learn. And you have so many things that you can put in that backpack, and yoga is one of them. So I kind of went off on a tangent with that one, but I think that is such a good point. Um, so over time, you can probably relate to, if you're living from the neck up, if you're not tuning into your body, you start to try to cover it up. And I've done a live about this, I don't know, it was like a year or so ago, about wearing black. And it was like, why don't we wear color? Or why don't we feel like, why don't we wear whatever we want to wear? But so often I'll see, women start to wear these flowy, stretchy things, cover up in black. Um, and then they just totally kind of numb out when it comes to food. So on the scale of emotional eating, numbing out and shame, they're on the very end of the scale. That, like, in terms of like, you you want to get help before you get to this point, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But usually when women come to work with me, they're at a point where they just don't want to fight it anymore. They're just tired of it. They just kind of get numb to the feeling of breaking their promises to themselves, these rules that they put in place for themselves around food. And they have started to experience maybe depression, maybe anxiety. So all of these feelings are real. And I just want to get to the point where we talk about fixing the problem, because what you're doing at this point isn't fixing the problem. If you've been in this cycle for years, the shame is so great. You can't just hide from other people. You can't hide from yourself. It comes to a point where you physically can't do that any longer. You can't hide anymore. And what I mean by that is, if you've been kind of restricting and binging behind closed doors, let's talk about what it does to your metabolism. So over time, you've ruined your metabolism. You're pushing up your set point weight. You're down regulating all calories, and your body used to be able to burn these calories, but now your body is hanging on to every one. It doesn't want to let it go. It doesn't want to use it because it doesn't trust you anymore. So you don't trust your body, but your body really doesn't trust you, is kind of what's going on. So nothing you do is working. You just can't lose weight. And by the way, these are all things that I hear from you guys. So if you're feeling this way, I want you to know you're not alone. I hear these every single day. Um, but nothing is working. You can't lose weight. The scale won't budge. The scale keeps going up. I am eating hardly anything. So there comes a time when it kind of becomes visual and you can't run from it anymore. And what I mean by this is you might still be able to hide what you're doing with the food. Okay, so nobody knows what you're doing with the food, but you can't hide what's happening to your health. So you can't hide that maybe your hair starts falling out. These are some symptoms that people come to me with. Severe anxiety, depression, hair might start falling out, nails are breaking, just looking kind of gray, thin, or just sunken in, maybe not having a lot of color in your skin. Panic attacks. This is another one that come with the anxiety. So you can only handle it. This will only last for so long, is what I'm saying. And one reason I want to do this live for you today, and I'm glad you're here, is because, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you guys that are watching the replay later. But feel free, as Tracy did, to say hello if I'm talking. And you're watching this later, definitely let me know who you are, where you're from, but comment with any questions that you have about this. And it's great. It's so great to have you live in this community. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're with me. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about shame today, and hate to like be such a Debbie Downer, I'm not sure. I just think it's so important. We can't run from this emotion. Because there's so many times that women come to me and they're ready to change. And it's because they're at this point where they couldn't hide it anymore, where things were so bad, where they're having the panic attacks, the anxiety, the depression, the autoimmune disorders. Like they wait until that point, right? And everyone else thinks, you're this really healthy person, but maybe you have been diagnosed with something. And so you come to me and you want like a quick fix, help. So shame, it's now something you can't run from and hide from. It's showing up in your health. And what's been happening in secret and the dieting isn't working anymore. So I just want you guys to know, if you're with me, I want you to know that you can be free from this. Tracy, wonderful question. Okay, I'm going to get to that right now. I'm going into it. So we've kind of been leading up to this, and Tracy just asked, I'm going to show it again. I'm going to leave it up while I'm talking about this. What is the solution? I know I give you so many resources in this group about like things to read, things to research. And one of them is intuitive eating. That's really the basis of this. It's what I build this practice upon, is the book Intuitive Eating. But what I do is I show women the steps, the things that we can work on together. And we work through these steps, these pieces of the process, in a 3-month program. Actually, it's 4 months now because I listened to your feedback. We needed an extra month. This is not an easy journey. So the one thing I hear from people is, I wish I would have known this sooner. I wish when we start working together and we start going through the phases to food freedom, one of the first phases we go through is ditching this diet mentality. And when I go through ditching diets with women, the second phase is learning to give yourself permission to eat unconditionally. And that, along with that, comes learning how to trust your body, become more in tune with your body. We call that body attunement, in your fullness signals and satisfaction. So we go through all of these phases together. And I'll start to hear women say, I wish I had known this sooner. So what I really want to do is I want to encourage anyone that's watching today. I want to encourage you that if you're struggling with this, if you're on any one of these examples resonated with you, if you're on the shame spectrum, if you're still trying to manage your weight or try to control that, if you still are thinking, I've got this secret, if you think, well, right now I'm not gaining any weight, I don't have any health issues. I hear this all the time, and it hasn't shown up in your blood work yet. Okay, so you aren't seeing any health issues. It's only a matter of time. So you just can't keep doing this to your body. We call it weight cycling. When you work with me and you learn more about intuitive eating, weight cycling is this idea of restricting and then binging. And I've got this tool, this diet history tool. That's one of the first things that we work through together. We look at what has happened to your weight over time. We understand this idea of a set point and how can you push the set point up. You push it up with every diet. So I think to really understand what the solution is and to be okay with it is to understand what's going on in your body. So there's a lot of science behind this like idea of like ditching diets because diets don't work. So I want you guys to understand that. And so many times people want me to just jump into a meal plan and give me a meal plan, but that's not tuning into your body and what it wants and needs. But it's really hard to tune into your body. It sounds kind of woo woo without some help, some structure, somebody to help you take the proper steps to go through that process to tune into your body. So diets make things worse. We can see all this when I walk you through the diet history tool. And the key is to stop doing things that aren't working. That's why I call this group ditching diets together. So get to the root of the issue, why this keeps happening. The real solution for this shame cycle to end is to stop doing whatever it is that's causing you to be shameful. So this is really like a journey of, it's a growth journey, you guys. It's a journey of personal development. And like I said, there's going to be days when you have small failures. You have failures, but that's what you can take it and learn from it rather than go back into the shame cycle. So, I see people and they're like, okay, well, I think, because this is a growth opportunity to learn more about yourself and your body. Okay, well, I'm going to go get certified as a life coach, or, I'm going to go on a retreat, or, I'm going to do all these things to maybe like manage the shame, make yourself feel a little better about the shame. But what you can do instead of managing the shame is to go to the root of the problem. What is causing this shame and deal with it? And that's what we do in the program. So you don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to be doing the things that you're doing that you're feeling shameful about. We work to eliminate the shame. So take a look at all these examples that I kind of gave you today and look at all maybe the band-aids that you've been putting on the shame. So you feel shame, so you're going to numb it, or you're going to do this. I feel shame, so I'm going to go on this retreat to get to know myself, more, or I'm going to do this or that. I'm going to tap into my trauma, and I'm going to go see a therapist. And hey, that's great if you do that. And I want to say that, I'm not dogging any of these things. These are all tools. These are all things that you can do. But you can also address this challenge, what you're doing that keeps putting you in this cycle. So I work with women that go through this program with me. We call it Finding Food Freedom. It's a small group, but they aren't anxious anymore. They aren't anxious when they get around food. They aren't anxious about their body. They're not depressed anymore. They don't feel shame because of something that they ate. So I've worked with women that really spend their lives focused on perfectionism. And that's what a lot of this boils down to, is like comparison and perfectionism and things like that. But I'm not saying this process is easy. It's not all magic and rainbows. It's digging deep, and that's usually what we want to run from, is why we're doing this to ourselves. So you can deal with hard things and not continue to keep hurting yourself and your health. And that is probably like something I need to quote in the group. But if you're obsessing about your weight, if you've been yo-yo dieting for decades, dieting up and down, binging, over exercising, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. If you're hurting yourself, then it's time to get out of that situation. And I think we have another comment. Yes, yes. Me too. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I think sometimes when you're working on something, it does always continue to come to the surface every now and then. When you get in certain situations, I'm with you on that. To get to the solution, it's all about getting to the root cause of the shame. Sure, there might be past traumas out there, but go see that, go sort that out. And if the binging and the restricting stops, great. But if that does happen, then you know that was the reason and you dealt with that root cause. So I have so many women that come to work with me and they're really successful in every other area of their life. So really, they have great jobs, they're top performers at work, they are mom to 3 kids, they're like super mom, all of these things, incredible families, great partnerships, amazing careers, all the things, right? They're educated, but food holds them back. And what we have to do is address the pattern that leads you up to the episode. So it's not about the perfect meal plan. Like I said, that's not the solution, because that doesn't work because you've tried all those things. You've tried the diets and the meal plans. So you know it ain't about the meal plan. Um, it's just about getting to that root cause and lessening some of that control. So I teach my clients this 5-step process when they go through the phases of food freedom. It's like 5-step process that we go through. And it's based on the 10 principles of intuitive eating. And, so I teach them how to work through these urges that they're having. If they have an urge, if they have a crave, is their body trying to communicate to them? Get curious about it. So it's basically about coming home to your body and learning to communicate with it, learning to trust your body so that your body can trust you. So I just want to encourage any of you guys, Tracy, any of you that come on later and you're watching the replay, I just want to encourage you to not wait until it gets worse to seek help. So we live in a world where I think as women, we put everyone else before us. And I see this all the time. Maybe, you're saying, well, I'm going to get this book and I'm going to read this book and I'm going to see, or I'm just going to wait and see if I can read this book and see if it happens again. And then if it happens again, I'm going to get help. We got a limited amount of time here, and that is my mission, is to help each and every one of you get your life back and become the women that you were created to be. And so we've only got one body here on this earth. We have one body. And so every single day that you're struggling with food or you're struggling with your body is time taken away from things that could be making you happy, things that are important to you, your family, your spouse, your partner, your so many things. So finding food freedom is really about being able to live free. And that's what I think of when I named that program. So why do you want to waste any more years, I guess, is the easiest way to, if you want to boil it down to that. It's like, I just want you guys to be free of that. So here's the step-by-step plan on how you do that. You've got to get the foundation of food freedom. That's finding food freedom. And what I want to do now is, we're at the end of this coffee chat, is just, say, hey, if this resonated with you, and you want to hop on and walk through a breakthrough session together, a coffee chat, and talk about some of these things, then give me a coffee, or say coffee, or shoot me the coffee emoji in the comments, and we can set that up. So we can get super clear on your cycle, And we can talk about next steps because I want you to know that you're unique and your journey isn't the same as everyone else's journey. And that's what I love about intuitive eating is it's your freedom, it's your journey, it's not anyone else's. So a diet plan, it makes us into robots, and we're not robots, and we weren't meant to be computing everything we eat. And so, yeah, I'm going to end it with that today. And I want to ask you to hop on a coffee chat if this has resonated with you at all. Coffee emoji below. And I'll see you guys next week. All right. Bye, guys.